Hey guys, I wanted to make a video about the differences between Airstreams and regular travel trailers. You know, there is just so much stuff on the internet saying one thing and another. I kind of want to just go over the basic things that kind of make an Airstream stand out, as opposed to like, you know, a grand design, or we got like a sunset out here. So we're just going to kind of go through some of the major key points that stands apart Airstream versus the other guys. So sit back, grab a snack, and let's have some fun. So the first thing you're probably going to hear if you're just doing like a Google search or you're getting into researching Airstreams is you're going to hear about the aerodynamic design. It's pretty obvious to see just when you're walking around them. You know, they're kind of rounded on the outside. Basically what this is, it's an aerodynamic design. So keep in mind, like when you have these square boxes of like a travel trailer, whether it's a Sunset or a Wildwood, you know, we got like a Cougar back there, we got the Northland up there, I got my trainee here. You know, you're gonna notice obviously pretty quickly that these are definitely built a little differently. The whole point is with like an aerodynamic design, it's gonna keep the wind off you a little bit better. You're gonna have a much better tow experience. It's gonna, you know, glide down the highway without too much instability. You know, you're still gonna need probably like a weight distribution hitch, especially if you're getting something as long as this guy. But at the same time, it's just gonna give you more advantages. Let's face it, when it comes to these box styles like the Sunset, I got like an impact toy hauler here, we got the overnighter. You know, the boxy design, it's going to be kind of like a box kite. You know, when you're driving down the highway, it's going to be a big, large, you know, flat-sided unit, and when the wind slaps you on the side, or if like a semi-truck flies by you at 100 miles an hour, which I don't know if they do that where you live, but they sure do where I do, it's going to just cause a lot of sway. So even though you still need a weight distribution hitch for an Airstream, at least highly recommended, it's just going to give you a little bit more security when you're on the road like that. So that's the first feature, which would be just the aerodynamic design. Let's step inside for the next feature. Another thing you're going to see a lot when doing your research, when people talk about the differences between Airstreams and a regular travel trailer, is going to be the panoramic windows. So a panoramic window is whenever two different walls, like let's say the front and then the side, share a window. It's just a very nice viewing experience. You're just going to see more of the nature around you. You know, you can still shut your window if you want like some privacy. You got some blinds here, blinds there. But the rounded windows, the panoramic view, is going to be kind of a staple in the Airstream design. So just a better viewing experience. Yeah, you know, maybe you can hang out on the bed. You know, I'm looking up here. I can kind of maybe even see the stars while I'm laying down. Walking through your trailer, you're just going to have more viewing opportunities, and then even in like the bathroom, you'll still have those panoramic windows. So just giving you more stuff to look at. I mean, when you're going traveling, that's what you're there for, is to see outside of the trailer. You're not going to spend your whole time inside, so it's nice to bring that nature inside. So second feature that kind of sets Airstreams apart would be these panoramic windows, and this is a great set of examples right here. Number 3 on our list for Airstreams is going to be the low center of gravity. So because these things sit a little bit lower, they have independent stability on the wheels, you are going to have a better towing experience. A lot of people will say that that's going to be more fuel efficient. I mean, with gas prices these days, fuel efficiency is definitely a must-have. Basically, with a low center of gravity, it's, you know, the best example I can think of is I remember back when I shot shotguns, and, you know, I had like a Benelli Super Sport. When you hold that thing up, you know, one side definitely feels heavier than the other. That's because it doesn't really have a center of gravity. It's not well balanced. But then I remember playing around with an Olympic athlete shotgun. You know, this was a guy who had traveled all over the world. He had been shooting clays his entire life. And when you held his gun up, if you put it on a scale, it would weigh the same as mine, but because it was more balanced, it had a low center of gravity, it felt a lot lighter. So that's similar to like how an Airstream's designed. And I'd like to make a video maybe more going into the details about that, but that is a staple in the Airstream design. The low center of gravity is just going to allow for a better towing experience, because basically the weight is a lot more distributed along here. You know, it's going to have like a better distribution of your weight across it. Does that mean you don't need a weight distribution hitch? As we said already, yes, that is still a must-have. You know, weight distribution hitches nowadays pretty much all exclusively come with sway bars, so I really can't say you don't need that. But at the end of the day, the more stability, the more distribution, the more equal distribution is going to be better for your RV experience. So that would be number 3 as to what sets Airstreams apart. Coming in at number 4, you're going to hear this a lot, whether you're Google searching or going on YouTube University. You're going to hear a lot of talk about the build quality. You know, Airstreams are just built better. They're just built better. They're just built better. You'll hear that on and on and on. But what does that really mean? So I want to talk about one way that they build the shell and then before they add the insulation. So what happens is with Airstreams, they're going to build the shell, and that would be the layer above this. So this is like your ceiling. Inside this is going to be like some insulation, and then on the other edge would be the outer shell. So what happens is when they build that outer shell, before they even put the insulation in, wherever it is, they actually put these things into a hurricane test environment. So it goes into this chamber that simulates an actual hurricane. So water is splashing all over the outside of this thing. Heavy wind, maybe even like some dirt thrown on it. They're just testing, the absolute integrity of the outer shell. As they're doing that, a water technician is walking through, kind of like we are now before all this is put on, and they are watching to see where leaks could be occurring. And as they're watching the water come through during that hurricane simulation, they are sealing it as they go. So that means product testing and fabrication is happening at the same time. So that's just a little bit more detailed explanation. There's a wonderful documentary about how they build Airstreams online on YouTube. I might link that into the video, or I might do my own video on that one day. But I just kind of wanted to go into a little bit more depth without getting too crazy as to why their build quality matters so much. So yeah, just think of hurricane testing, but not so much that. It's just the fact that they're testing the quality for problems while they're still building it. It's not like they're finishing it up, slapping it together, and then doing like a basic water leak test at the end. Because if they do that and they do find a leak, well, there's not really a whole lot they can do to actually fix it. So that's number 4, which would be what separates Airstreams from everything else, which is going to be just product testing, like while they're building it, like a true hurricane simulation. Number 5 on the list, probably the most obvious thing that you're going to hear about Airstreams is just going to be, what are they made of? So this is aerospace aluminum grade material. So we're building this thing with the absolute best possible material we can. I say we, I'm not in there building them, I'm just talking about them. A little example of this. So on the first trip to the moon, the government did not know what was going to happen to their astronauts. For instance, they did not know if when they came back from the moon, if there'd be bacteria that was attached to these astronauts that may infiltrate, the human population on Earth, cause diseases. So they actually had Airstream design a movable housing unit for the astronauts. So we're talking NASA grade material here. There's just a lot going into how they fabricate these things. I'd love to do more videos just kind of going into the very ins and outs of every little detail of these things. I just kind of wanted to make this video to give you like the top 5 biggest things you'll hear about the differences between, an Airstream and a regular travel trailer. So yeah, we're looking at aerospace grade aluminum here, whereas you have aluminum sided travel trailers like my Wildwood over here. These are great little summer campers, but keep in mind, it's aluminum exterior with like a wood, it's either going to be a wood skeleton frame or it's going to be a partial wood skeleton frame. So that means there might be some aluminum on the frame, but mostly it's going to be wood. Same with fiberglass travel trailers. Like just because it's fiberglass doesn't mean it's going to be a true aluminum superstructure, which is what Airstream is, which is where the entire skeleton is all like, there's no wood on that skeleton. There is probably going to be like some partial wood on most fiberglass travel trailers. If they're Cougar, Passport, Jayco, and they're fiberglass, 9 times out of 10, that'll be like a true aluminum superstructure where there's no wood on the frame. But it's just one of those things that, you're going to think, oh, there's stick and tin, and then there's aluminum siding like an Airstream, and then there's fiberglass. But that kind of statement leaves a lot to be desired, because just because it's fiberglass doesn't mean it's true aluminum superstructure skeleton. It could still be wood on the frame. Like our Northland here, we're definitely going to have some wood on the frame. The Wilderness, there's a lot of different fiberglass coaches that are actually wood frames, or at least partial wood. So yeah, those are your top 5 reasons that an Airstream kind of stands out. The top 5 things that we'll probably come across first when you start your research on whether an Airstream or a traditional travel trailer is right for you. As you can see, I sell all of them, so I can't really say that you know, Airstream is the only way to go. If you don't buy an Airstream, you're an idiot. I mean, that's kind of a stupid thing to say because everyone has different reasons for getting a travel trailer, but there are definitely some very important components that make Airstream special, and I just kind of want to make a video on that. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Leave a comment if you have any questions. Like I said, this was a very, very basic video that I wanted to do. I just wanted to really touch on the 5 things that make these special. You know, aerodynamic design, low center of gravity, yeah, you know, panoramic windows. It's just, they're a lot of fun to go through. Everyone wants to see an Airstream. And this is why they've lasted so long. Keep in mind, when Airstream first came out, you know, there were hundreds of travel trailer brands. And since then, Airstream is the only one that survived. So they got to be doing something right. Thank you so much, guys. Hopefully more Airstream videos to come, depending on how well this video does. Hope you guys have a great day and happy trails.